Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Jay Abraham.
So those of you who said I should have stopped at 10 minutes, I'm going to stop at 5 now. So I'm going to say 4 things, and then we're going to play something for you. One is he made a comment about having to have intermediaries disseminate and educate. And one of the things that attracted me to this industry is the chance to disseminate and educate viable, high viability, high ethos type knowledge, wisdom, actions, guidance, direction that can not only enhance the success of the superficial transaction, but can profoundly multiply the success of the end result, whether it's a commercial enterprise, a causal based, etc. And I have an enormous spectrum of very high level experts, colleagues, influencers that I've already been talking about. We're going to have a sub site with the Crowdfunding for All. We're just going to give an enormous amount of extraordinarily qualitative idea, information, and adaptation and adoption of really seminal thinking to help people enhance the good, minimize the negative, and have a much higher viability. That stated, when I found out from Ruth that the congressman couldn't come here, we got on the phone and asked a couple of my friends if they could at least provide an inspiring and a provocative little compliment. Not as good as him having been here in person, but a good compliment. And I'm going to tell you what you're about to see, and I got to tell you what you're not going to see because it's funny. So I got a hold finally of Daymond John, who's a friend of mine. We're doing projects together. We have a book together. He said, yeah, I can't come, but I'll do it. I'll be in Los Angeles. And he was going to come to my place, and I said, no, I'll come to you. And we had a comedy of errors, and we thought we had a studio. We didn't have a studio. We couldn't find a camera person. It took us 5 hours to find a camera person. Then the camera person turned out to be, respectfully speaking, incompetent. And then we took and I'm all excited after spending a day there, and then nobody could see it because it was too dark. And I sound like this. He sounds like this. And it's been a comedy of errors, but through a lot of machinations, we have about a 20-minute video from him. And please, it's not perfect, but if you knew the effort he made to make it available to you, and the effort 3 or 4 people, including one of our colleagues today, made to try to make it better. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it inspires you. But getting people of influence to get not just the word out, but the right word is very, very important. And things like using relational capital, not just to superficially get networks, but to get people to grasp what has to happen to make the opportunity really viable and pay off for everyone involved, not just for the superficial funding part, is very important. So I guess turn it on, and I'll sit up here if you want me to until it's over, and then I think you'll enjoy it. It's very short.
By now you probably know from yesterday who I am. And I suspect the person to my left you already know, but I'm going to introduce him formally because he deserves it. And then we're going to get the gloves off and we're going to talk for the next 20 minutes about you and about all the people in the audience and about some ideas that's going to help each and every one of you, no matter whether you're an advisor, an investor, somebody seeking it, a provider, how you can maximize what's going to happen. So the man to my left is a very good friend and an amazing entrepreneur, Daymond John. He's a star of Shark Tank. Anybody who lives in North America knows it's probably the most popular show on ABC, and it's a bunch of very sophisticated entrepreneurs being pitched by a bunch of unsophisticated and hopeful, aspiring entrepreneurs trying to get their money. And it's an incredible demonstration of critical thinking and non-critical thinking. But Daymond is an extraordinary entrepreneur. He started out selling hats on the street. From that, he built $1 billion fashion basic dynasty. Now he is an investor, an advisor to over 50 companies. He's worked with the likes of Kim Kardashian, Pitbull. I can go on and on, but I'll take all our time. So he's a man who knows about starting businesses. He knows the problems people face trying to get money to start businesses. He knows what it's like to be an investor, and he knows what it's like once, if, and after you get the money, and what to do if you can. So first of all, Daymond.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for a great interview. I appreciate that. And
Yeah,
an introduction.
Okay, so now we got the introduction. So I'm going to set some stages, and what we decided to do, with your permission, is we're going to do like a Rorschach. I'm going to put a little bit of context. I'm going to throw the ball, pass it to Daymond. He's going to dribble. He's going to shoot. And what comes out of his mouth will be very interesting because I don't know what his thoughts are. And we're going to see what he thinks about the industry, what his thoughts are about each category, from the platform providers and service providers, what he thinks about the investors, the people seeking money right now, reward-based, all that. So we're going to all discover. You ready?
I'm ready.
Cool.
Right.
Okay. You think that accredited investors would by the nature be sophisticated, but there were accredited investors that invested in Bernie Madoff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of danger, and I'd like you, if you don't mind, throw out some do's, some don'ts. You've got a lot of experience, and I think
Right.
personally it translates totally to this arena, so go for it.
Well, you look at some, I know that often, in this crowd there's going to be people that are everywhere from green entrepreneurs to people who have platforms to people who are very sophisticated. So nothing I'm going to say is going to be absolutely, new information for many people. But let's look at just Shark Tank. People often look at Shark Tank and say, well, people come on there and they have no idea what they're saying, but that's the real world. There are often people that go on there, have no idea what they're saying. They want to sell you 2% for $5.9 million of this great idea. They really believe it.
Absolutely.
Then you have other people on there that, you come on there with this crazy idea and they become the next Rubik's Cube and Snuggie because we didn't know any better. Yeah. So you have that fine line of who knows better. But at the end of the day, what you're going to face is just like Shark Tank. You're going to face many, many people who have a great will. They have a great product, but no business sense, right? You're going to face other people who they're a little too educated and they know how to, paint things to make them seem like they're so great, and they start to believe their own hype, and and they didn't make a sale at all. And then you're going to have other people who, the kind of guys like you and I and many of us to go out there and they find a value in their company. They've learned their mistakes small, and this is a great opportunity for many people to be part of something. So I mean, it's gonna be very, very interesting. The theory of build it and they will come no longer exists. After the certain time and age, maybe 20, 30 years ago. Now, whatever product you have, the product is only as valuable as the information, the people you can get it out to and converting it to, and distribution. Right? I run my companies today as well as when I first started. I run my companies off of the theory of the power of broke. When I speak to people, and we state, certain things that even our book that we're writing that, most companies go out of business due to overfunding. They go out of business when you have a restaurant, you decide, hey, I'm going to open up a restaurant. I'm going to take $100,000 loan in the house. You didn't sell not one piece of chicken or one piece of shrimp to anybody ever before, but you believe that no matter what, you have a customer base because you're going to open up on the block. Not like any other restaurant, didn't try this before.
That's right.
Right? So I think that the challenge with the three platforms are that even if you have the platform, at the end of the day, it's about getting this information out to people that exist, and then obviously making sure that they're valid investments and they're great opportunities. Well, if I was an accredited investor and I'm looking at it, I want to know, number one, who is the person operating the machine, the CEO, the CFO, the CIO, and what type of board, because what type of knowledge and history do they have to run this company? If I give them this money and maybe it's just a big shot and an infusion in the arm and it goes up and then goes down, it's really not a business. It was just a concept or an idea. So first of all, I look at that. Second of all, I start to look at the property that they have, and is it scalable? Is this something that is just a product or one concept, or is this an actual real business that's scalable? And the third part I look at is, where is the distribution? What is set in place? Because in the event that we are successful with it, what are the lanes and the windows of opportunity? Is it a retail play? Is it a B2B play? Is it an online play? Is it a licensing play? Is it an intellectual property play? So those are the main three things that I would look at. If I was somebody out there and I'm looking at it as an unaccredited investor, I look at it basically is this an opportunity that I can get into where the scalability and the benefit are way more than I go in and I buy the pipes, or I go in and buy, some Apple, or, some, whether betting against Apple or for Apple, or BlackBerry or something else, where all the criterias are there, the everything else is there. I can read as many analytical reports as I want to, because that's going to be a gamble as well. But I think that, tapping into some of these big machines that exist out here, infrastructure or some other things, I think it's a little less risk. So this one, I'm unaccredited. I'm going to take a gamble on it because I may not have that much money. I may not have that much time, but I want a big reward on it.
There's a school of thought, excuse me for stepping on you, that worries but believes that a lot of the unaccredited investors are going to be gambling. It's going to it's going to be almost an addiction, and they're not going to, because they don't have the wherewithal to really discriminate. They don't know what to look at.
They don't know what to look at. Somebody else puts out a great press release of what they're about to do, and they just buy into that theory. They don't look at the back end of it. They don't look at the board. They don't look at distribution, conversion, or anything else, because they're just going on the hype. To increase your probability to get money generally comes from a couple of things. And the number one, as we always say, sales cures all. Not the fact that you're going to go and create this product and then try to sell it. You have been already selling the product, or you have existing orders or distribution waiting, and now you need to fund that. The second of all is, how will you return the money? Will there be a way to return it on a quarterly basis or annual basis where it's a guaranteed return, so somebody can, even though, listen, you know what, if they go bankrupt, nobody's getting paid. But at the end of the day, if you can start to see immediate returns on your investment, then you don't have to worry about 2-3 years down the road, the company's asking for another infusion of cash, or they're reinvesting the money, or whatever the case is. But you always know that sooner or later you will be getting your return. And those are probably the two main ways that you can increase increase how attractive your proposition is.
And one of the things we talked about, and we talked about in the book, is the ability to lower the risk level, whether it's tranches, whether it's benchmark milestones before you get all the money. You want to talk about that?
Well, those to me were two obviously things that lower your risk level, because you sit there and you look at, and we could talk about it more even further, but you look at somebody that, hey, we need $500,000, but we have $1 million in orders, and we know that, we're on a 50% margin. We know how much we're going to bring back. Okay, well, you don't want to bleed the company, but X amount will be returned to you immediately on that infusion of cash. Or you look at the expectations, like I said, you'll get a quarterly, whatever the case is. Yeah, there's other ways to manage expectations in regards to return of the capital. Is there a licensing program in play, and do you have people ready for that? Are there other ways to do it? Could you become a strategic partner to somebody else as well? So do you have something in you're only at 60-75% capacity, so what you're doing is you're private labeling the same concept to somebody else, so you can utilize the other 40 or 30% of your factory or your ability or your staff, using, as you've taught me, as OPM, other people's manufacturing mind power or manpower. And those are many ways, obviously.
Great.
I think the number one thing that I would like to share, and it combines several things. It combines doing your homework and research, as well as understand that you don't have a new concept, you only have a new angle, is that number one in business, if you don't have a strong board or a strong mentor, your probabilities of success will be much lower, due to the fact that you won't have somebody to guide you when you come across those mistakes and those, or even opportunities. Sometimes opportunities are the biggest challenges and the biggest mistakes you can make. You can drown in opportunity, number one. Number two is, if you don't have proof of concept, if you don't go out there and you don't test it and you don't make a sale doesn't necessarily have to be a hard cash sale. You have you have a Twitter account, and you have all of a sudden 50,000 people ready to and listening to your words, or you have something that's liked this amount of times. But you know what? When I started, it was 1989. I didn't have Twitter. I didn't have Facebook. There wasn't even the internet. I had to just get up in somebody's face. I had to sell them a shirt, and I had to come back tomorrow to see if they wanted another one. That showed me a proof of concept. I started to understand what people were willing to pay, what what they didn't want to pay, what they wanted to wear, what they didn't want to wear, what color, what size. Was it kids, ladies, men? And what happened with that was then when I went to my investors, I was able to tell them every single thing about my company. They can never tell me anything about my company, and I can gamble. I can say, I guarantee that 30 shirts will move this week in this place because of this.
And you can prove it.
And I can prove it. And once I proved it, then it's on you. And let's do double or nothing. And before you know it, it becomes a large company.
I love that.
You know, so I think that those are the two things. I think the third most important thing is something that it's usually common sense, and I'm sounding like my granddaddy now. It's just you have to have an absolute passion for what you're doing, because you got to know that you're going to be working 24 hours a day on it. And when you take people's money, you take an investor's money, it's serious. It's a real obligation if you want to do the right thing by them, because if you do the right thing, money will be there every single day, all the time. If you do the wrong thing, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt investors, you're going to hurt many people, and it's a big obligation. Don't take it because it's the easy and the lazy way out and say, oh, why don't I just raise $100,000? There becomes double the responsibility, because now you're not only responsible for your money and your well-being, but somebody else's.
I love that. I have 3 comments, and then we'll stop. First of all, there's a report. It's called the Startup Genome Report. You may or may not have ever seen it. It was done on 17 or 1800 tech startup companies. It was done in Silicon Valley. And I'm going to probably summarize it accurately, but it's not going to be precise. The success rate of the companies that were mentored continuously by competent, real-world people. And mentorship means people have done that, been there, can say, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And they listened, was 300% better than the ones that tried to do it alone. And most people don't even try to get mastermind groups, advisors, mentors. I think you can't underscore that enough.
Yeah.
Don't you?
No, absolutely. I mean, because, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And usually if you're going out raising funds and things of that nature, you have 2 type of people to do that. Somebody who's been in the business 20, 30 years and they've decided to go off on their own, and usually they're not out looking for funds, because if they've decided to go out on their own, generally the boss and other people already are saying, here, take my money, please. I can bet on you. So you have those type of individuals, but then the other ones are usually people who just think that they can do this. They see a need in the market, they want to fulfill it. But being an inventor doesn't mean you're a business person, or being this and that. You can't be everything, and you have to understand that. Especially when you're a young entrepreneur and you're designing, you know, there's also, I'm using designing as an example. You have to be a master of designing. You have to be a master of warehousing, shipping, sales, creating an internet or a website. You can't be the master of everything. You're going to make mistakes. But if you have mentors and great leaders, they're going to say, don't do that. Call this guy, call that guy, or
pick up the phone.
Or you're an idiot, close the business.
Yeah.
One or the other, you know what I mean? They're going to say something, and it's good leadership that you need.
It's good. Also, and again, not talking about a book, but we talk about the fact that if you understand trust and being preeminent, you can get experts to believe in you enough they'll defer compensation. And
Absolutely.
that's very important.
Absolutely. Again, money's not everything, but if you get the right people on your board and things of that nature, where, you know what, there's been some, people out there, they have stellar reputations, and for them to lend their name to your board, it's way more important than,
you both know that.
than everything else. And you don't want money from those individuals, because you don't want them to be blurred in their judgment because of the money, or other people to be blurred in their judgment because they think you have money. You want an advisory board that's strong, that's going to give you that knowledge, that's going to be a credible advisory board.
And as an investor, if you want to see that,
Yes.
it goes both ways. This is like a 3-dimensional discussion. I have one finite question and then a loose one. And the finite question is very simple. The key to crowdfunding, no matter whether you're doing reward, whether you're doing it lending, whether you're doing it accredited, non-accredited, is going to be building the best network you can. And most people aren't very good at what we call expanding, enhancing, accelerating, and maintaining their own network. Got any advice?
Well, there's a couple of networks. So first of all, the network in regards to the fact that it's out there. I mean, there's a lot of products out there in the world. I just always go back to the business that I know best, the clothing business.
Okay.
I'm not going to put 3 sleeves on a shirt. The shirt's not going to do any difference. It's going to be the fact that people know it exists. And what is the angle on the shirt that I'm selling you? Does it make you feel good? Is it affordable because everybody can afford it? Or is it unaffordable so you're not going to see it again on somebody else? Right? Is it something that you pay for and you wear it once or twice and throw it away because you only paid $2 for it? Or is it an investment that you buy it for, right? But if less people know that you exist, when you walk into a department store, it just all looks the same. You don't even know this exists. So in this platform, there are going to be people who are going to say, well, we have either this platform for this type of crowdfunding or this and that, but if nobody knows you exist, you're not going to get anything. It becomes the build it, they will come theory again that doesn't exist.
So that comes back to marketing and branding, differentiation, and getting people's attention, and you got to do it cost effectively. What's the secret?
Well, first of all, that's a tough question because to generalize it, I don't think I would be doing the viewers justice to generalize it. So
let me ask it different.
Yeah.
Okay. So branding plays a role, marketing plays a role, strategy plays a role, differentiation plays a role, getting market awareness in other non-compensated, they call it earned media, however you want to say it, plays a role. And you can comment on any, none, I don't care. I'm just trying to, you got all this knowledge that I want you to share because people don't realize the scope of your mastery.
Well, what plays a role is, first of all, what's in it for, we have to always look at what's in it for the masses, not what's in it for the few. So even as we say that everybody will be rushing to the crowdfunding platform, if you're just a couple of platforms out there, the masses need to know what's in it for them. And how
to use you and not your competitor.
Correct, to use you and not your competitor. So how do you position it where it's purely advantageous for the masses and they feel that in this they have a safe or knowledgeable platform to invest their money? They're going to see a lot of other information out there. It's going to be very, very confusing, right? But where do they feel, especially in this day and age of transparency, that they can get down to the bottom line of what's going on, right? And how will they be rewarded in the short term, not in the long term? How will they be rewarded in the short term? So how do you position that? You know, are you going to go out and position that off of, you know, go out for retirees? Are you going to go out for people who have you know, extra income they want to spend, and you kind of position it as only $2 a day can get you this much more? Or are you going to go out for people who are really in the tech world and you're just hitting them on the Facebooks of the world, and how are you getting this information to them is going to be important. The first thing an entrepreneur does is they go and they max out their credit cards. Then they go to friends and family, and then they probably use and leverage their property if they own one. But past 2008, that's even more challenging than ever. How are they going to get out there? You know, they're going to have to do what I've been seeing mainly is more of the social media, the Tumblrs and those things, and the Facebooks of the world. That's the way I normally see that they get out there and they raise funds at these causes. But I mean, these are the crowdfunding platform is opportunistic for them. This is really where they can shine and they can show people this great gem or this concept they have. The good side about crowdfunding is often your playing field, the challenge is, it's a little tough. You know, you have to now, you're not in this little vacuum in your neighborhood trying to raise friends and family money. You're on a platform with many other people competing in the same area. So you actually have to either, you know, really have a superior product to win, or you have to have done your homework.
Yeah, and a great proposition. I'm going to take a liberty and share what I think is a unified belief. And I don't think Daymond will argue. I think we're both separately and in unison very excited about the future, but we're very worried because it can be gamed, it can be mismanaged, people can waste a lot of energy and emotion trying to get money. Investors who seem superficially to be sophisticated because they earn $1 million can get buried. People can get money and just dissipate it. There's a lot of great upside, but there's an enormous amount of dangers and gaps, and I don't know if you want to speak to that.
No, I absolutely agree. I think this is a form of, put it like this, this is number one, this is something that we cannot refute that is going to happen.
Yes.
Right? So it's going to happen. So if we look at the music sharing platform where the Napster happened, and then sooner or later it became an iTunes type of situation where, you know, there was enough rules and laws in there to protect people, but you had your Napster version, and then all of a sudden, you know, people settle in and the real thing comes out here. Or if we look at the dot-com bubble in 2000, and then around 2004, 2005, the people start to settle in. So, you know, as they say, pioneers get slaughtered, settlers prosper, and that's going to be the situation now. There are going to be few and far between, I think, that will prosper immediately and prosper the correct way. I think that soon it will get governed to a certain point after a couple of years, and then real business and industry will grow from there. But it's going to be a very challenging time right now. But there is one thing for certain, that it is on its way. It's now. It's here,
unstoppable.
and it's something that we have to face. And I think that I would rather bet on the horse than against it.
And everyone knows that I want to be an advocate of prudence, common sense, strategic thinking, critical thinking, just really logical thinking. I know you want, any involvement you have in it, you want the same outcome. Any last parting thought?
No, I mean, that's about it. I mean, just to reiterate, what we pretty much have covered, this is just a new version of many things that we've seen in the past, from the stock market to the bubbles of everything. I mean, listen, at the same time while this is happening, we're going through a bubble up in Silicon Valley at the same time. Everybody's just throwing money like drunken sailors at everything that's around, and valuations are $50 million for a kid in his pajamas coding out of his attic. And you'll get your Instagrams and your Facebooks here, but you will get 90% of crap out of there. So, we just have to go into this cautiously. I'm hoping to surround myself with great guys like you, and great girls and other people in the audience that, you can build a board itself of this community, and people say, well, you know what, these 2, 5, 10, 20, 50 individuals, they really have not, over the course of their life in business, they haven't been in this to scam people and make money quickly. So this is where we should kind of go, because we believe that they're going to work it out. They may make mistakes, but they're going to work it out as well if they're affiliated with it.
I'm grateful on behalf of the audience. I know there's a diversity of different issues and needs represented, but I think you addressed all of them, and you're gracious to do this at last minute. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam.
My honor.